Hello, Ed Worley, who's first one on, I think, at least on my list.
Yes.
Greg Phillips from the Gold Coast in Australia. Gordon Smith, as usual, saying good evening, you wonderful lot, from Copenhagen in Denmark. Ted Ryman down in Cape Town in the RSA, the Republic of South Africa.
Those four end up at the top of the list most days.
Most days. We're here again in Studio B. Those of you just joining us, we're glad to have you with us for yet another show, a Friday, casual Friday for me. John Emmett is, what's he saying? Driving and listening. Rick Banner, oh, hi-ho, it's New Jersey. Here we go. As we get this one over the starting line. Welcome. Really saying, thank God it's Friday. Julie, you just gave me a thumbs up there in that.
For the picture.
You like that photo?
Oh, yes, it's gorgeous.
It is a terrific photo, and I did not single it out, but it's from the 29er Worlds, which we're featuring today. Today is the last day of the 29er Worlds. John Emmett is going to give us a report from there. He's on live in his evening there, of course. It's show number 638 for Friday, the 4th of August. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Julia. I trust you are well.
Yes, I am.
Any hot tips?
No. No.
Any hot tips from Joe Holtzman in Estes Park in Colorado, who gave a trophy 40 years ago. It's still being competed for in the Interlake class. We'll feature that on Tuesday. Graham Sweeney saying good evening from Yale, Scotland. Mm-hmm. Worley likes my shirt, Julia, and this is from last year's Stag Cruise, but it's Casual Friday.
It is.
You said you always look very, very nice, and I asked you what you had on when you came down, and I was still in hair and makeup. I shouted to you, and you said, I have a
sweatshirt dress.
Sweatshirt. That doesn't look like a sweatshirt dress. Looks like you're ready to go to a cocktail party at St. Francis, the St. Fancy Yacht Club.
Yes.
Carlos Avi's back with us. Great to be with you all from the capital of Brazil, Brasilia. Again, what a great team they had at Governor's Cup. Carlos, you should be very proud of them. It was nice to meet them all, and
Absolutely.
I hope they get back to Gov Cup next year. There's Steve Atkins made the start this year,
Wow.
Julia, or this show, rather.
Yeah, good.
And we're going to talk about Boomer Bland, J. Frederick Bland's regatta that he's chairing coming up in Hot, Texas, the 23rd to the 24th of Sep. We hope that has cooled down by then, but just another example of what cool people do for our beloved sport, including many Fozy. This show is becoming more and more of a Fozy fest.
Yes.
With cool people doing cool things here on the show. I just want to thank everybody for their terrific comments after our show on Tuesday about the Gov Cup. It was fun putting that together. I love that event and all the people involved. A couple of photos. This one in particular I did not have, actually, let alone not use. But this, again, is the esteemed Cole Tapper, who was runner-up to Jeffrey Peterson and his team. Cole Tapper from the CYCA, Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. And when Jeffrey, the tradition is they are, the winning boat comes back behind the fire boat with the hose, the big hose spray and the race committee boat. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a nice deal. And who's the first one to greet them on the dock but the runner-up who just lost to them 3-0 in the final, Cole Tapper, who I told you on the show Tuesday, he and his team, as were all the other 11 teams for that matter, just a real class act.
Absolutely. And it was true throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and you watched a lot of it. You said you were still watching some of it here in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Thanks, though, for your many nice comments about the Gov Cup. The next edition, the 57th edition, will be next year, 22 to 27 July. If your club has not gotten involved in match racing, Julie, I think we need to tune up St. Francis a bit and get a team here and get them to apply and see if they can't get down to Balboa Yacht Club in SoCal for the Governor's Cup, which will be, again, as always, at Balboa Yacht Club and it just goes from strength to strength. Bravo Zulu to everybody involved. Julia.
I enjoy watching match racing more than I do any other regatta.
Well, and I think that's why the America's Cup is so popular. It's one boat against one boat. It's a chess match. It's a boxing match. It's easy to understand whether you're a sailor or a non-sailor. And I agree with you. I think it's why the America's Cup and match racing has been so popular for so long. Greetings from North Texas. That's Bob Walker, where it's a hot, 100+ degrees. Captain Jack Schaefer from Annapolis. Happy birthday, Fawn Leibowitz from An Animal House, the movie. Do you remember that, Julie?
No.
Oh, my goodness. Animal House. Cows Week has just wrapped. I talked to Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, who dropped from second to fourth just in the last little bit of the last race today. Said it was a terrific event otherwise, despite the wind. That a couple days it got blown out. But, you know, it's August in the Solent. A little bit of rain. We'll have a report on Cows Week next Tuesday.
Great.
Tonight, if you're in Newport, Rhode Island, just in less than an hour from now, 11th Hour Racing is having a free, in fact, I think Sail Newport sponsoring. They were first, as you know, in the ocean race, and that's a photo from Genoa on the 1st of July. And tonight in Newport, Rhode Island, Sail Newport is throwing them a victory party. It's free. It's at the Great Friends Meeting House on Farewell Street, just around the corner from the famous White Horse Tavern. Rain or shine, team victory party. Should be a lot of fun. I commend it to you. As I say, it's now 2:07 in Newport. So, sorry, it is now 3 plus 3. It's 16:07. It's 4:07 p.m. in Newport. And at the Great Friends Meeting House in less than an hour, that party will commence. And if you're there, have nothing better to do. In fact, even if you do, I commend it to you.
That would be fun.
Don't you think?
Yes.
I'd love to be there myself. Brad Reed and co at Sail Newport helping to put that on as usual. Great Friends Meeting House, just on the way out there in kind of north central Newport, near the cemetery, the big cemetery that's on the right when you're going out Farewell Street. But nonetheless, it should be a terrific time. Bravo Zulu to the whole gang on 11th Hour Racing, Charlie Enright, Mark Towell and co. And have a great time. Have a fun evening, well-deserved win in the ocean race. First time by an American-based team. Julia, what are we celebrating today?
Well, if Jody's involved, it's got to be beer.
You're right. You saw that in the show notes at the top of the show, as today is International Beer Day, August 4th, 2023. And what does that mean? Well, I'm not sure, but in reading some of the notes that go with this online, beer is one of the oldest drinks the world has ever known. International Beer Day gives fans worldwide just one more excuse to have a round on the first Friday in August, or the first Saturday morning in August if you're down under. Beer has had a reputation as the drink of choice for the ordinary working man or woman, and I think for sailors as well. When it's served up cold and frothy or strong, we celebrate International Beer Day on the first Friday in August every year, 4th of August, when summer's end begins to loom large. Start of another weekend beckons us to put aside our work, set aside differences, and come together to celebrate our shared love of beer. I like beer. I don't ever drink it anymore because it makes me...
Well, I'd love it on a hot day.
Especially after a nice long sail.
Yeah.
Or a yacht race. There's more. Beer has been consumed by almost every culture, as you all know. Throughout human history, the oldest evidence of man's obsession with brewing beer dates back to ancient Babylonia and Mesopotamia. Archaeologists have unearthed recipes for beer that were written on clay tablets in
4300 BC.
Do you believe that?
Yes.
And ceramic vessels from 3400 BC that are still sticky with beer residue. Yeah, right. Come on. Everyone drank beer in ancient Egypt. Pharaohs, peasants, priests, even children, as part of their everyday diet. They couldn't drink the water.
I was going to say they couldn't drink the water.
They drank beer in most of the world. They drank tea in Asia. What may be the first song about beer? Hymn to Ninkasi, an ode to the Sumerian goddess of beer, dates back to 1800 BC and includes, get this, Jody Shields, a recipe for a beer brewed by female priestesses.
As it should be.
As it should be. That's got to be something that Jody knew and probably celebrates. Probably
since early morning.
The idea that beer was brewed by female priestesses, he being surrounded by his female
priestesses
entourage, his wife and daughters and so on.
Yeah.
Nice international beer. Okay, this is the sailing show. The drinking show of the Sailing Habit. A couple of facts in case you didn't know it. I didn't know any of these facts. I don't know how to pronounce that. Do you?
Xenocelia
phobia.
Phobia.
Is that fear of drinking beer? Slugs like beer. I didn't know that.
Oh, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
More Guinness is drunk in Nigeria than Ireland. Hard to believe.
Mm-hmm. Cheers
to beer. And to those who drink it. On this International Beer Day, happy, maybe even happier than I. Maybe I'll have a beer tonight, Julie, when I go to dinner at my favorite restaurant, where I like to go on Friday nights down on Chestnut Street, to Cultivar, which is a beer. It's owned by some friends of ours at St. Francis, and we like to patronize our sponsors of the sport and friends of the club and clubs and classes worldwide. Not happy, Rick Bannerow is saying, but hoppy. That's the fuzzy fuzzy. We have a little video and photo segment from Rick at the end of the show. J. Frederick Bland saying it was a problem getting rid of hoops, I think he meant hops, and malt. Voila, beer. Really? Were the recipes of those ancient tablets mistyped? Stingray. That's a clean one from him for a change. Graham Sweeney, how did I not know this? I'm 50 miles from the nearest pub and the fridge is empty. Bloody hell. Cheers, Ted Ryman is saying. I can't pronounce it. Can you pronounce Bannerow's? What's Bannerow saying? I think he's opening a beer bottle. I'll drink to that. Talk about hot. Phoenix is 106. Martha Peterson's on here. I'm using some of her cartoons. Welcome, Martha.
Oh, she's had a great bunch this week.
She did.
They're all good.
And I didn't use it, but the one about, I'm going to describe it because it was so funny. It's one about it's a skeletal person who's been standing in the the vegetable section of the grocery store for so long. And the people, the couple clerks that are working in the store say, well, he's been there for a while trying to open that plastic bag. Martha said that I didn't use it. But it's so frustrating. Why don't they make bags that you can open up before you put your veggies in there? So you can put your veggies in them. But thanks, Martha Peterson. Replying to Jody Shields, beer nuts. Julie, I also saw a funny thing on the news this morning here on our business news. Apparently, and Graham Sweeney, maybe you can confirm this, apparently they're now starting to do mail drops to remote islands up near Graham using drones. And the drones can carry 30 pounds of mail, and they're doing this 3 days a week. Graham, tell me if that's fake news or if that's really happening up your way. At least that's what I saw. Thanks, Clancy Solway. It's again, it's a Stag Cruise shirt from last year. Getting serious now about the Stag Cruise. Now that I have the Gov Cup behind me, I can start working on the member show for Stag Cruise, which I've been producing for a number of years. And this is, Julia, my last year doing it.
Yes, dear.
It's herding cats. It's a lot of work.
You say that every year.
I know, but it's too much. I'd like to go and just relax for a change.
All right.
Steve Gruber, you shouldn't be using the plastic bag anyway. Then it doesn't matter if you can't get it open. I think those plastic bags are biodegradable, right now? Aren't they all at least they are here in California.
Yeah, I think they require them to be.
As if that makes a lot of difference. I think Gruber's right. I think you just throw your veggies in your basket, wash them when you get home. You have to anyway.
Yeah.
Gordon is saying drone delivery of posts to the Orkneys via drone is correct. Okay, so that's the Orkney Islands. Will Sargent, hi Warren Chaucer. He is saying that Will Sargent, who was at Gov Cup last year, and crew have just won the SB20 Worlds. He was on your show. Yes, he was in a top classy young man he is. Great sailor. Good fun to meet him.
That's good news.
Jay, yeah, give him our congratulations, Warren, if you see Will Sargent. J. Frederick Bland, Boomer Bland, just make sure they're not Ukrainian drones with packages for Moscow and the Black Fleet.
Uh-huh.
Oh, dear. That gets us, let's get into the opening segment here. Bravo Zulu. To the winners of the Fastnet race, we promised you on Tuesday we'd get into this, and we shall. This was the 50th edition of the Fastnet race, RORC's famously cool event. Starts in Cowes, goes out around the Fastnet Rock, you leave it to port, and then back to, for the last couple. This is, I guess, it's every other year, and this is the second one where they have finished in France, in Cherbourg. Not universally popular decision, but I mean, they had a record fleet this year. They had 455 boats, of which, a quarter of the fleet, I think it was 170 boats, more than maybe a quarter, didn't finish because it was windy and wild, especially after the start. Here is another one of those fabulous videos from Rolex recapping the event and the winner.
Sort of a dream come true. We never expected it, but it was also like a very tough race, very hard competitions. A legendary group of people. Luckily, we've been able to stay together for a few years. Sometimes we have been close to it, but never got there, and it feels really good that we finally got a win in 600 miler, and it's the 50th edition of the Fastnet, so that's super special for us.
Carrier has a fantastic team on board. The boat's very, very well prepared. And yeah, we sailed a really, really strong race. Aggressive when we needed to be. We backed off when it was very fresh and rough. But, I look back and, yeah, we didn't leave many miles out there. So, yeah, it was good. We're really pleased. It's great that there's owners who want to come and travel the world to race, Fastnets, Caribbean 600s, and the Fastnet race is one of the Ocean Classics. So to be able to win it, with such a good team is great.
Super happy, super excited, super proud of the guys. So yeah, doesn't get much better than this.
I like that. He said, we didn't leave very many miles out there. It's a nice, I think, expression of what you're doing when you're offshore racing. You just, it's the person, the team who does not lose, who loses the least miles, not gains.
That's a wonderful phrase.
But when you have the opportunity, you take advantage of it. A young navigator named, he's an Australian navigator named Andy Green, not Andy Green, who's a Brit who lives now in Newport, Rhode Island. But Bravo Zulu to them. I put together a little feature. You only see this on Sailing Illustrated, where we dig out and then check with some of you, including Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin. He knows this guy well. He's the owner. And you see where it says in the lower right corner, RNZYS. Here's a Swiss guy with a international team, with a boat built, designed by a Spaniard, built in New Zealand, and is a member of the RNZ, and he is Swiss. Owner skipper Max Klink. Obviously, I guess, from the German side of Suiza, and a terrific team, including Ado Stead, who's been around. He was the skipper tactician, I guess, but the winning crew, we always like to mention the crew, as you all know, celebrate them as well as the skipper and the owner. William Parker, Wade Morgan, Ryan Godfrey, Justin Ferris, Jono Swain, James Patterson, Harry Hall, John Guilfoyle, Andrew, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Andrew, sorry, McCorkdale, Andy Green, the Australian, Ado, a.k.a. Adrian Stead, and owner Max Klink, and that is Max Klink was a young guy, Swiss businessman of considerable repute. I looked him up today, and of course, Ado, whom I've known since the '96 Olympics, not well, but what a great guy. And speaking of him, he is a sailor from Poole originally, who represented his country in the '96 games in Savannah as a crew member in the Soling. And I remember him in the match racing because they got to the consolation, the semis, and then got to the consolation with Andy Beadsworth. And fellow crew member Barry Parkin, they took the 4th place. He is one of Britain's most successful sailors, winning world championships, get this, in the Swan 60 in 2013, the Far 40 in 1998, 2007, and 2008. And of course, I got to know him better in the Far 40 class when I was chairing the jury in those years. The RC 44 and the TP 52 in 2010, 11, and 13. This is his 3rd Fastnet win. He's raced with Ran, the Finnish guy. What's his name? I'll think of his name. You all will know here. I can't come up with the name. So he's hadn't won it in 10 years, but this is his 3rd win. And bravo Zulu to him and to the entire team that designed and built this boat. This is a photo courtesy of Botine Partners, who are the esteemed, famously good design house. The new Carl 52, according to Botine Partners, was designed to win the classic offshore races such as the Fastnet, the Middle Sea Race, the Rolex Sydney Hobart, and or the Caribbean 600. Caro was engineered by Pure and built by Core Builders, which, you know who owns Core Builders, Julia?
Mm-mm.
Larry Ellison.
Oh, good.
That's Core Builders down in NZ under the supervision of Mark Turner, Kiwi Mark Turner, not Brit Mark Turner, who's been a project manager for us with Oracle Team USA. The overall project management was carried out by Justin Ferris, who, as you saw, was a member of the crew from Doyle Sales NZ. Now, speaking of Marcelino Botine, many of you will recall he's done a number of America's Cups, including last time with American Magic, because he'd been doing projects with Terry Hutchinson and the owners of the boats on which Terry has been sailing.
Mm-hmm.
Marcelo Botine left American Magic and went to Alinghi. You can see from his hat, Julie, you're spot on. And this from an introduction to from an article in Seahorse Magazine a couple months ago. The 2024 America's Cup will be the Alinghi designer's 4th edition since he started with TNZ in 2007. He later worked with Luna Rossa, led the design team of American Magic, and now has the same role with Alinghi for the 2024 edition in Barcelona. That's, of course, designer Marcelino, or Marcelo, as some people call him, Botine. Now, this first paragraph in the article in Seahorse, again from a few months ago, I thought was interesting. Seahorse asks, what led you to switch from American Magic to the Alinghi team? Besides money, they didn't ask that question. Marcelo Botine says, first, because Alinghi is a European team and the next cup will be in Barcelona. That makes it easier for us. The schedules, the cultural idiosyncrasies, and the geographical proximity to our Santander office, Santander being in northern Spain, make life easier. Also, with Ernesto Bertorelli, we have had a relationship for years. We've talked together many times about the Cup, about boats. By the previous edition, he was already very interested in the process of choosing the boat when there was talk that a big monohull would replace the Part 1 design catamarans. We were talking well before I joined American Magic. Mm-hmm. If you don't think Alinghi's going to be tough and strong, they may not win, but I still pick them as certainly among, if not the top challenger.
I'm still hoping that Italy will come through.
Well, indeed, and I hope American Magic comes through. I'd love to see the Americans win it back. I don't think the Brits are going to do well again this year, but who knows? We shall soon see. But don't count out Alinghi. The more I see,
you've said that from the beginning.
I have, but that 385 get you a Starbucks these days.
Oh, well, it could work on that.
J. Frederick Bland, cultural idiosyncrasies equals cost control and meeting schedules. Ha ha. Yeah, it doesn't. That's not what it means at all. Surprised Mike Sanderson didn't sail with Caro. Is it Caro or Caro? I think it's Caro. Clancy, Saul Whale, Clancy, Larry Kennedy. Hola, guys from downtown Manhattan, New York City. How's your air quality, Larry? Those are all boats at the top for pros in their time. Indeed. Baton Rouge, Baton Cannon. Nick Zenstrom. Thank you, Steve Gruber. Always has the right answer. Nick Zenstrom from Finland, who started. Do you remember, Julia, what he started?
Mm-mm.
Skype.
Oh,
Skypey.
I never knew
Skype,
that
indeed.
name.
Okay, so much for that. Bravo Zulu to all of them. Great win. They won overall in what, IRC, whatever it was. They were, what class they were sailing in. They obviously won their class as well. And yes, you know, there's so many awards, there's so many different categories and classes, but when you win overall, it's a deal. And that's a, you know, it's a Botine 52. It's basically a TP 52 or that genre. And a hell of a good boat, well built, well sailed. Bravo Zulu 2. The owner, Max, remember his name?
No. It was just there.
Max. Let's come back to it. John Emmett, Coach's Corner is next. Our Super Posey checking in from the 29er Worlds, that fabulous event, huge event, 205 boats from 20 some odd countries at the WP NSA, Weymouth and Port. It doesn't come off my tongue the way it does off the tongues of Brits. The Weymouth and Portland, not Portsmouth, Portland National Sailing Academy, the legacy from the 2012 Olympics. That was their opening ceremony a few days ago. And Bravo Zulu to them and to the class, the 29er class, which of course is a feeder into the 49er class in the FX for that Olympic skiff. That event presumably has wrapped up by now. It is what time? 9:27 p.m., 21:27 in London. So in England, I don't know who won. I haven't been watching. The Germans were doing very well. A couple other top teams from Europe, and not a big surprise. But here is that picture you liked so much,
yes,
Julia. I thought I'd reprise it since that photo by John earlier in the week, Monday or Tuesday this week, of all the 29ers. Again, 205 boats, 410 sailors, double-handed class. And here's John's report from today.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Going to take you on a walk. I'm in the Weymouth and Portland National Sailing Academy. I know you always like a little bit of danger, so we're going to try and go down the stairs near the Andrew Simpson Centre, and I'm going to take you to have a little look over Portland Harbour and hopefully not get run over by anyone or falling down the stairs. This is the 29er World Championships, and it's the final day of racing, so it's Gold Fleet racing. Please check out the videos we've done so far. I think the class has done an excellent job just showing what a great class it is. And do remember to like, share and follow, and in particular subscribe to the YouTube channel, because I actually find that a really good way of catching up, because you can listen to the sound when you're driving along, or you can actually be looking at emails, etc., and have the show keep you company. I suspect, this is the Andrew Simpson Centre in the background, you hear the noise, I suspect that I won't make it tonight, because one of the things with media, timing is really important. And by that I mean, the sooner you get the content out, the more views you get. And I'm slowly learning that actually that is possibly more important than the quality that you get out to get it out quickly. So it's definitely news. So today the gold and silver fleet, and those are the people who are fighting to win the championship, so to speak, are going to be outside in the bay. I've decided not to sail myself because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of time to do things. But in the harbour we have the gold, sorry, we have the emerald and the bronze fleet. So it's a bit easy here. I'm going to take you to have a little look down by where the keel boats are, because we're that close. You can probably see them as they go around the Wimmer Mart. And I have to laugh. Lily was out yesterday and today in her Wasp. She was quite keen to do the event, but she had a bit of a back issue earlier on in the week. So she pulled out and then was looking for a different helm. And one of the Emerald Fleet sailors was going to sail with Lily, and then they asked her, you know, how much 29er sailing she had done, and she said, "Oh, I've done 2 or 3 days or whatever it was," and they decided they didn't want to sail with her. And I do wonder if at some point somebody will tell them they turned down the opportunity to sail with an Olympic gold medalist. In fact, it's all my fault because she changed her name. If she had been answering the quests under Li Jiaxu, then probably there would have been a lot of takers. But under Lily Emmett, not so much. But yeah, so she was quite grateful actually. She had a nice little wasp sail in the harbour when yesterday the Emerald Fleet, I think they only got 1 race in, crikey, what would it have been? 4 or 5 hours on the water. Just going to show you what I think are some interesting things. It's the RYA keel boat programme, and I think match racing is a really big and important part of our sport. It's something I used to, well, specifically the team racing, it's something I used to really love. And here, this is more the sort of background view of the academy, and we can see all the flags. From the top of my head, I think it's 25 countries who are here, and it must be over 400 sailors from the entry. And this is the problem we have now. We're a little bit far away, but you can see the fleet now coming up to the windward mark. And indeed, I can just about see the first spinnaker going round. Just going to try and do a little bit of zoom here without dropping the camera in the water. And I do really like it at the Olympic Games where we have this. That's a close-up of Osmington. There are some boats around here somewhere. Yeah, I do really like it at the Olympic Games where you have country spinnakers. In other words, you can see exactly who's leading the race. And talking about that, we're going to be going to The Hague very shortly where I'm working with the Emerging Nations programme, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that next week from Holland. But yeah, the Olympics is just in front of us, and this is of course the Olympic sailing venue, so a lot of memories for me. And Portland Harbour, it's great, you know, you can launch when it's really windy or really light and get a lot of racing in. I'm going to call it a day now. So my top tip for those people who are watching in replay, I think that YouTube works incredibly well, and that's probably what I'm going to be doing because I'm going to be in a rush to get the media content out as soon as possible. But have a great show and join you next week from Holland.
Yeah, what wonderful stuff.
Yes.
Again, as usual, right?
And he gets better and better.
I hope we all do, but he's right too about just push record. I mean, if we hadn't started 7, we're on our 7th year. If we hadn't just started, put the bloody iPhone up on a tripod and say, here we go, even though we looked then and probably still do now like a bunch of croutons. But you just have to push record, and John is getting better. I mean, he's really excellent now.
Yes.
And all of you who are trying to do this with varying degrees of success, it's appreciated and it's great for our sport. So please carry on. Gordon Smith, Denmark are sending 31 sailors to the World Championships, which we're going to feature next, by the way, in Den Haag, in The Hague next week. That's where John is headed next. The Cove Pub, Jody Shields is checking in on International Beer Day. Hi, Jody. We're at Saturday morning down under. Wanji, if that's where you are, sir. The Cove Pub was my favorite place in Weymouth. John, by the way, Stingray, you were saying John sent that video early this morning. Well, you can see he walked around in the boat park while they were out racing. Right. So that's late morning, early afternoon, I think, when he took that video. Gordon Smith, indeed, he's replying to Ed Worley. It is indeed a fantastic facility. Gordon Smith, I love this comment. Turning down a ride with Lily Jiu, the Olympic gold medalist, John's wife, it's a bit like refusing a lift from Mika Hakkinen. Julie, you know who Mika Hakkinen is?
Yes.
The 1998 and 99, was it? I'm from memory. He was with us on the McLaren team. And I drove, I rode with him regularly. We'd ride from the track back into the hotel, and we were at events. I took him to China, in fact. A blonde guy. We did a big promotion in Shanghai.
He was a good friend of the Vanesses.
Oh, was he? Of your friends from Finland? Well, of course he was and is, and a terrific guy. We sometime, not now, I'll tell you the story about riding with him in a Mercedes from the Sao Paulo track back into town to the hotel.
Yeah.
And it's, people see in Sao Paulo, which is, 13 plus million people.
Right.
It's a little dodgy like San Francisco is these days. And they see a fancy car with some white guys in it, and they'll drive up behind you, two of them, one behind you and one in front,
Yeah.
and kind of tap you
Yeah.
and try to get you to pull
Pull
over.
over, yeah.
And then God knows what they'll do to you at that point. Micah could just smile. I'm in the back seat with a seatbelt on. And Micah just smiled. He pulled out. And he
Took
went
off.
dodges through the heavy traffic going from the circuit back into town. Well, I've never been so I think I had to change my underwear when I got back into town riding with Micah.
I wonder what the guys behind were thinking, though.
Well, we lost them quickly, so
Yeah.
that was good. Ahoy from Leamington, Christopher Gillingham. Exley's checking in too. Hi, Chris. Hello, everyone. Warren Schasser, another interesting comment. Brisbane to Hamilton Island race started yesterday, run by the Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron RQYS with Andu Comanche, one of the competitors. We talked about Comanche. We had that nice report on Tuesday from Alistair Murray. John Emmett, being a Fozy, has very obviously been celebrating it. I don't think it was so obvious.
No.
Because it was the middle of the day. But he probably is celebrating. He's probably celebrating it now and saying, well, I have to be doing my YouTube videos. He's probably in the pub. He should be.
Yeah.
David James asking, it's off the top of the chart there, but he's asking, how are the NAR Worlds going? Last I knew, David James, the NAR class, which is popular here at St. Francis, popular in Norway and Denmark, and maybe one or two other countries, a traditional, fantastic old wooden class.
Right.
Very, very good for heavy air, heavy seas. And their worlds, the IKCs, I think are over. And I know that our Vice Commodore, Chris Perkins, was sailing with his brother John, and they were leading earlier in the week, David James, but I've not heard the final
That's good.
results. Hi, Monica Diaz, checking in from Spain, celebrating your famously good designer, Marcelino Botín. I don't have the bandwidth yet to send video footage, Graham Sweeney is saying, but they have just fitted the optic cable to the house. The next issue is getting the cable through a 3-foot thick wall. Oh, my goodness. Okay, now I got more from John. I talked to him this morning and asked him, well, I know you're heading to Den Haag, and when are you going and what are you doing? Here's an audio report.
Oh, hi, Tom. We're leaving on Sunday, so to be there in really good time, and I'm actually running a coach regatta that starts on the 8th. So we'll sort of have a quieter Monday getting everything sorted out, and then it's straight down to work.
So a busy boy as usual. He gets a day off or two maybe, and then headed to Den Haag, to The Hague, to the Netherlands for this big event called the Allianz Sailing World Championships. World Sailing some time ago trying to rustle all these classes together and have one big event that they thought they could sell to sponsors and make money and create promotion for the sport. I still personally think we were better off in the days when the star class or the various Olympic classes ran their own worlds, got great attention around the world in various places, decentralized. This is an enormous event, 2 different venues, very difficult to pull off, and I think World Sailing loses money on it, or at least they used to. But they're still trying to do it, and it starts next week, and it kicks off with an emerging nations program to kickstart the Olympic dream. This is the World Sailing website. That's their headline. And I've run part of the article because it is featuring Fozy, namely John and Lily. The 2023 Allianz World Sailing Championships in The Hague will bring together 1,400 sailors for the chance to compete for honors and secure qualification for the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, which is just a year and a few weeks away.
Yeah, it's close.
World Sailing will be supporting the participation of 44 athletes from 27 nations as part of this Emerging Nations Program, ENP. Sounds like a heart, what do you call that? Like a heart test, an ENP. In order to narrow the performance gap and make the highest level of the sport more accessible to all so that promising sailors do not miss out due to, this is a polite way of putting it, external factors. In the 6 days before racing begins, this is next week, the sailors will join the ENP coaching group and receive pre-event training from experienced coaches, many of whom were Olympians themselves, in order to prepare for the championships. They will also receive coaching during the championships. 9 of the group competed at Tokyo 2020, and even more will be aiming to qualify for Paris 2024. I guess who is coaching?
Mm-hmm.
The group of participating coaches will include John Emmett. They should have said Fosey, John Emmett, a sailing coach for nearly 30 years and current ILCA Masters world champion. Olympic sailor and coach Susanna Pyatt from NZ. Former UK national champion Georgina Povil, who's a former RSX and IQ foil athlete turned IQ foil coach. Carolina, I don't know, Carolina, pronounce your name, Kluzniska, I'm not going to try, sorry. I apologize. From Poland. And of course, Lily Zhu, China's first sailing Olympic gold medalist, is also joining the coaching group before taking on media duties at this event. Emmett has been a professional sailing coach, as you all know, for nearly 30 years and has coached up to Olympic gold medal winning standards. As someone directly involved in helping sailors achieve their dreams, John has long recognized the importance of the ENP. Julia, that deserves a bravo Zulu from us.
Yeah.
And all the Fosey for what John is doing. Of course, he's going to, I'm sure, get paid a few bucks, as well he should. Nowhere near what he's worth. John says, quote, the Emerging Nations program has tremendous value, allowing sailors, regardless of background, to have world-class coaching at key events. This support allows sailors to perform to their true potential by giving them assistance when most needed to help the best sailors, regardless of where they are from, to compete at the Olympic Games and feed their knowledge back to their home countries. Exactly right, Gordon Smith. Bravo Zulu, Don Lunabos, and others who are commenting. Quote, continues here, the goal is to improve sailing all around the world and demonstrate sailing really is a worldwide sport, suitable for everyone. Where there is a will, there is a way, and hard work and talent will always be rewarded. So I just, bravo Zulu again to John, and also, by the way, to Lily. Yeah, because they even featured Lily in this article. This is the lead story on the World Sailing website today. Lily competed in 3 Olympics, winning bronze in Beijing 2008 and gold at London 2012. She is now an on-camera presenter for events such as the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, Sail GP, and the Ocean Race, and is keen to pass on her knowledge and experience to the future generations. Here's her quote, getting to know sailors from those sailing developing countries, get to know their background and help them in all means I can help them to achieve their dream, unquote, she said. Quote continues, making sailing more accessible for all nations and helping more countries to join our sailing community creates the opportunity for sailors around the world to compete at the highest level and inspire others to join our sailing family. Bravo Zulu to Lily as well.
Absolutely.
Julie, I mean, it just warms the cockles of one's heart.
Indeed it does.
So bravo Zulu, John, and Lily, and everybody else involved. You'll see at the bottom of the show how highly I think of that initiative. It's not a DEI thing. It's not some other cruising initiative. It's not some it's help people learn to race and race better. Yeah. Race faster, sail fast, sail safe, have fun.
Right.
Emerging Nations Program, the ENP. John Emmett Sailing presents that segment every show. Get to the front of the fleet with John and his company of 1 or 2, if you count Lily. John likes to say, please subscribe and share to your own Facebook and YouTube pages. Okay, so the final day of the 2023-29er Worlds in Weymouth, that's been the topic of our show. Now we're going to transfer over to Den Haag and this World Championship upcoming. It's the largest Olympic classes regatta in the world, the pre-Olympics that World Sailing puts on the year before the Olympics. They tried to do it every year, and it was such a waste of time, effort, and man, it just was a madness. But maybe in the year before the Olympics, it's a good idea. We'll see. Here is a video from that event I thought you would enjoy. the excuse me, the Allianz Sailing World Championships in The Hague.
They topped the medal table at Aarhus in 2018, boast numerous world champions, and are about to host the biggest Olympic classes event of 2023. What is it that makes the Netherlands one of sailing's most successful nations?
Everybody's driven. I think the goal is to get medals.
We've got probably the setup for a lot of talents to become good sailors.
We train all together in the gym, at the water, and we really push each other up.
We try to look what's necessary to develop each sailor, every squad, every class for itself.
I think that combination of feeling provided for but still feeling free to make choices is a very unique one, and I think that's what helps us to be successful.
When the Allianz Sailing World Championships get underway in The Hague on August the 10th, the host nation will arrive with a squad characterised by its strength in depth and winning mentality.
We have some very experienced people who have been in more Olympics, winning 3 medals in a row, but also some youngsters in new classes that are growing very fast. And I see it as my role, my responsibility to build a culture where we do things together.
We've got this very solid background. There's always enough teams to handle logistics and stuff like that for us, but at the same time there's still a sense of freedom.
There is a space for each program to be different and to be built around the sailors. That's a unique approach by the Dutch Federation.
The current squad includes seasoned campaigners like Kieran Badlow and Marit Bouwmeester, both silver medalists in Aarhus. Badlow also claimed RSX gold at Tokyo and is now racing IQ foil. Bouwmeester has won gold, silver and bronze across 3 Olympics, took time out to have a baby and is back competing in the ILCA 6.
Well, having an experienced, a successful sailor like Marit or Kieran is great for the team. It gives us a lot of example on how to do campaigning, how to be successful, how to grow that during years.
That's what has been done with me, you know, surround yourself with people you want to be, with Olympic champions, with winners, teach them how it has to be done, push each other and know that there's always somebody else out there working hard and try to beat you, so you just have to be on top of your game.
One area where the Dutch are top of the game is the skiff class. In Bart Lambrix and Floris van der Werken and Annette Duets and Odile van Arnholt, they hold both 49er and FX World Championships.
We were pretty late in developing our skiff expertise years ago, and the way that was approached, well, obviously was very successful. And it's great to now have our FX sailors performing really well together.
So far we've sailed a 2nd and a 1st in the big regattas this year, and we're a bit surprised, to be honest. We had a rough winter where we couldn't work on all the technical stuff that we wanted to, but we also found that we quite quickly catched up again, so we feel like we're on the right track, but still some things to tick off before the Worlds.
Well, the 49er guys are a great team with coach Rick Peacock, two extraordinary good sailors, which were not a team when they stepped into the boat together. He made them really become a team. They're not there yet, which is maybe strange to say when they're double world champion, but I think that's the major factor why they're so good.
We didn't have anyone to look up to in the 49er class because we were the first Dutch team to go to the Olympic Games. And one thing that we bring is to see for young skiff sailors that it's possible to become the world's best.
Success in the skiffs might be a recent phenomenon, but since 2011, the Dutch have won 6 windsurfing golds in the RSX class at the Olympics and World Championships. Now they're aiming to replicate that in the IQ foil and Formula kite competitions.
We're really wanting to continue that streak. In that sense, we wake up every day with the thought of reaching the top stage.
I think the level of the Dutchies generally is quite high, so you know, you want to go, you got to be the best. Right now we're all in the top 10 too, so top 15 is not enough. It's probably going to come down to winning from each other, and that little friction, it's going to make you push and we're end up on the top of everybody probably.
Despite their strength in depth, the Dutch are well aware of the competition they'll be facing across all classes at the World Championships.
Talking about rivals, the British team, of course.
The Brazilians sail super consistently and really well, but then at the same time we have the Spanish They are really good.
I think in the 49er fleet, I would say there are 15 people, where like 15 teams, where I think they can win an event. And so, yeah, it's a highly competitive class, and it's not easy to win it.
What we'd like to see is that the 5 campaigns that we're doing and where we really think we can win medals, do well and have podium places.
I wouldn't do this if I didn't think I had another shot at a gold medal. That's the main goal.
At the end of the year, success will feel like we've won the world. Otherwise, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. All the comments here. It's a fabulous video. Just a really nice. The results, Gordon Smith is saying, of a long-term and well-supported national sailing program. Obviously. And it's not just down there in The Hague. They also have the sailing center up in the north in Medemblik, or next to Medemblik. Rick Bannerow has a comment about the video. Really nicely produced and edited video. Gruber and Bannerow and others are saying, absolutely. That's the way you do it. Are you listening, U.S. Sailing? Chris Uxley asked. Go NED. I guess I have a warm spot in my heart, Julia, too, for the Netherlands. I think it was my first trip to Europe was to the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there a lot over the years, judging, sailing, one thing or another, meetings. And a terrific country, wonderful people, just nice, straightforward, simple, smart group of people. And obviously, as we've been saying on this show for a long time, one of the great, not just punching above their weight, but one of the great sailing nations, period.
Yes.
Offshore and inshore, Olympic and otherwise.
Paying attention.
So, yeah, great location and amazing group running the events there, Joe Cool is saying. Great memories of the kiting early days, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Worley agrees the footage was nice and on and on. It's interesting how the comments quit when a video comes on, especially a good video.
Well, that should.
And if it's, well, you're right, it should, but if it's a crap video, the comments keep flowing and snarky stuff starts coming out of the fingertips of various people. Now,
David James has a comment that Star Worlds were possibly the best regatta ever.
Star Worlds were fabulous. Star Worlds were always fabulous. You had great sailors, a lot of boats, great tactical, great boat speed racing. So that's still a terrific class and always will be. Now, this is from a broadcast sportbroadcast.com, I guess it is, talking about the media coverage for this event. Sunset and Vine, our friends at Sunset and Vine, I know them well for a long time, done some work with them and for them. Sailing World Championships, they're covering it. They've been named as the host broadcaster for this event taking place at The Hague, the Netherlands, from 10 to 20 August, after the Coaches Regatta that John and others are going to what's the word I want? They're going to organize and run. It's not that hard to get out of your mouth, Tom. I need some more coffee. The competition features over 1,200 boats and 1,400 sailors taking part in 10 Olympic and 4 para events. This year, it has 2 new classes ahead of Paris 2024, the IQ Foil and the Finally Windsurfer and the Formula kiteboarding. The production is split over 2 venues and more than 50 square kilometers of field of play in the waters off Scheveningen. I practiced that, and I'm still not close, but it's closer than I used to be. Scheveningen,
Yeah.
That's that waterfront resort of The Hague that you're seeing in the background of this picture, and will include the use of a helicopter, 2 drones, onboard cameras, 3D tracking animations, and an attack rib. It sounds like a dog. An attack rib unit, which provides live multi-camera straight to social coverage from a boat on the racetrack out at sea.
Good.
We'll see how that goes. That sounds pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
Let's just see if they can get it all working technically. It's a hell of a challenge. And expensive. The presentation team will be led by double Olympic gold medalist Shirley Robertson.
Oh, good.
Great Britain, supported by Olympic gold medalist Fozy Lily Zhu of China and Great Britain at the para venue. Meanwhile, American Chris Musler, who's been on this show, another Fozy from Jamestown in Rhode Island, across the way from Newport, will be in the pit lane. And another Fozy who's been on this show, Australian Nick Douglas, on the attack rib, and leading sailing commentator Niall Best from GBR will be calling the action. Pindar says I missed it by a country mile. Well, give us a. He's talking about my pronunciation of Scheveningen. I thought it's Kevingen, isn't it? Schiphol, I don't know. Scheveningen. Give it to us, Andrew, in a phonetic spelling, and let's see if I can pronounce it better. Oh dear.
Where will we be able to see that?
Well, it'll be streamed on YouTube and Facebook, but for sure on YouTube, as far as I one hears. I'm reliably informed. Okay, so Star Worlds, Finn Worlds, oh well, Neil Collingwood. Hi, Neil. Yeah, it's tough going, but it's going to be a huge event, a good event, and hopefully we will be able to have our beloved sport well represented and benefit from it, and I hope you all agree. Carrying on here now, we've got a corrector Crutonic, Olympic related, and I don't know if you saw the news, Julia, and the rest of you, but in the I've seen it kicking around for the last month or so, but in the New York Post this morning, or was it yesterday, there is an article about a British gentleman who is proposing to host and is apparently moving forward to have a performance-drugged Olympics an enhanced Olympics to launch in 2024, as well as paying the athletes. And it's this gentleman who is not only the founder of he's calling them the Enhanced Games. Not only is he against drug testing, he actively endorses the use of performance-enhancing drugs in athletics. Quote, my body, my choice, which is the mantra here in the U.S. of pro-abortion people. What are they? Not pro-abortion, they have another
Anti-abortion.
No, pro-abortion. If they're in favor of abortion, they call my body, my
choice.
My choice. Pro-choice is what they call themselves. They'd never say pro-abortion. No. He actively endorses the use of performance-enhancing drugs in athletics. I'm asking you all if this is correct or Crutonic. This is the London-based businessman Aaron D'Souza. He told the New York Post in the last couple of days. D'Souza is the president of the Enhanced Games, a series of athletic competitions open for anyone to apply. I wonder if they're going to have sailing. Designed with a goal of breaking world records. He hopes to bring the competition to life next December, 2024, as an alternative to the, quote, corrupt, unquote, Olympics, he says, noting that French police recently raided the Paris headquarters of the 2024 Olympics as part of the corruption probe. That's true. Joe Holtzman saying it's not so. The comments are coming in already, but wait, there's more. Mm-hmm. Fundamentally, he says, the Olympics are broken. The Olympics are bloated and over-bureaucratized. The many layers of organizations and committees and subcommittees and federations are an alphabet soup that has created an unbridgeable gulf between the athletes and the Olympic apparatus that is meant to sustain them. Ed Worley calling this a Crutonic PR drill. Seeing it as his, quote, moral duty to fix elite sports. D'Souza said competitors will, quote, be given a salary and a large cash prize for breaking a world record. We are creating an alternative elite sporting competition, giving elite athletes the choice between a life of poverty and obscurity, competing in the Olympics, or financial well-being and the right to build their brand at the Enhanced Games. You're looking askance at all this, Julie. This is serious. This guy's doing this.
I know, but he's a man of his generation.
Well, we'll see. The underpayment, he goes on to say, the underpayment of athletes is the core moral failing of the Olympic movement. It is a vestige of the aristocratic sentiment behind the outdated, unpaid former amateur requirement. Now, what's the reaction from some other folks? I thought our Aussie friends would enjoy this. This lady, who is the chef de mission for Australia's Olympic team, Paris 2024, said she is appalled by the concept of a drug-enhanced games. That's gold medalist Anna, how do you pronounce her name?
Meares.
Meares. Austria's Olympic chef de mission, as I said, for 2024. So the games, of course, are happening in 2024 with strict drug testing. Dr. John William Devine, who I looked up, a senior lecturer in ethics at Swansea University and a member of ASTEM's Sports Ethics and Integrity Group, thinks the enhanced games raises a number of moral quandaries, you think? His concerns, quote, that enhanced sport will pose an unacceptable risk to athletes' health, that competition will be more unfair than before, and that sporting excellence will be undermined.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then there's this person, Dr. How do you pronounce that?
Quinn.
Kerwin Jones, a professor of sports ethics at Cardiff, obviously Welsh. That's how I speak Welsh after I've had too much to drink.
Mm-hmm.
A professor, so Andy Rose says, a professor of sports ethics at Cardiff Metropolitan University in the UK is less pessimistic. Quote, athletes will be freely choosing to accept any risks, i.e., exercising their autonomy, unquote, Jones told the Post, New York Post. Quote, it's always seemed a little odd that an MMA, a mixed martial arts fighter, or a boxer is denied access to, quote, risky, unquote, performance-enhancing drugs whilst engaging in such an inherently dangerous activity. So I ask you, is this drug-enhanced games apparently being scheduled in 2024, is it correct or croutonic? Julia, do you want to go first?
What jumped to mind is that this comes from a tradition of theirs, which is not volunteer, meaning supporting athletics and being an athlete, and especially from
Julia, is this correct or croutonic? Sorry to interrupt.
Croutonic.
Okay, it's croutonic. I knew I'd get it out of her sooner or later.
Sorry.
Chris Exley, croutonic nonsense. Fritz Mueller, croutonic on roids.
Mm-hmm.
He who uses the best drug wins, Ted Ryman says. Yeah, Ed Worley. So another Corinthian type event is threatened by dollars, entertainment, business interests, and self-promoting knuckleheads.
Congratulations.
Most people agree with you, Julia.
Yeah.
Be all men competing then. Will it be? Yeah, well, who knows, Luca? There's a good idea. They're going to have, probably doesn't matter what your gender is or whether you're trans or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Neil Collingridge, I can't see it getting off the ground. Who is going to pay for the athletes' corporate sponsorship? I can't think many companies will want their brand associated with it. Maybe Big Pharma will, Neil Collingridge.
Well, that would be a good idea.
Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Maybe Big Pharma.
Mm-hmm.
Fritz Mueller, last comment about underpayment is a slap in the face to all the amateurs who got to the top the really hard way. Graham Sweeney, the guy, is a nut. He is a conspiracy theorist, and he had tried many stunts to get in the media. I'd never heard of him before. Is that true, Graham? This is not his first rodeo, media rodeo. This pelican identifies as a sane human being. Jody Shields, roid rage. J. Frederick Bland. The Olympics do have problems, Ed Worley says, and issues, but let's fix the Olympics. What other comments here? Julia is right on target. Holtzman agrees with you. Obviously, croutonic. Atkins says. Julie Ahrens, it will no longer be a question who is the best athletically, but who can afford the most effective drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Folks use legal drugs of all kinds, but this is a slippery slope, Stingray says. So will the drug companies, okay, there we go, Ed Worley. Big Pharma will thereby confirm they have no shame, Collingridge says. Croutonic, but is there a master's division? There could be hope for me yet. I think that one was the winning comment of that. We can write, don't you think?
Yes.
Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro Falling Sailor. Ed Worley's got a comment. Who will be on the Viagra team? Okay, now we're going rapidly downhill. I just want to ask all of you who are, a lot of you profess to be libertarians and freedom of personal choice and so on. Don't you think if somebody wants to do this and use their own personal choice and take their own risks to ingest and inject whatever they want, don't you think that's okay, Julia?
Theoretically, it is because people would be doing it openly and understand what they're getting into. But I'd call it something else.
You'd call it something else. You still think it's crutonic?
I do.
I think most people on here, everybody. Does anybody on here think it's okay, that it's a good idea? Well, maybe not even a good idea. You think it's okay to do this? Any of you libertarian kind of. Remember, William F. Buckley was pro-drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my heroes. Teenagers can't give consent. They don't have the judgment to take drugs. J. Frederick Bland. I totally agree. Are you trying? Boomer's also saying after there was the comment about the Viagra team. He says, "Are you trying to get a rise out of us, Edward?" Okay, I think we've beaten this one. Sorry, I think we've beaten this one to death. Okay, now I'm the crouton. We press on here. Any other? What drugs would make better sailors? Well, that's a good question. I'm sure there's strength-enhancing drugs, attention-enhancing. There's stuff we don't even know about that probably is being used now and can't be tested for. So who knows? Given the illegality of many of the drugs for years, where is it? Given is it Gordon Smith? Get back up to that. I think they would struggle to get it staged. Our political leaders have been taking drugs for years. How worse can you explain? How else can you explain their behavior? Yeah, especially, I can think of one here in this country, Julia.
A couple of them.
This day in history. Let's get us out of that. That doesn't seem like a very popular hat. Get us out of that quick. What happened on this, speaking of drugs, in 2020 and 2021? I have two items for you related to this, and here's your first and only clue, Julia.
All right.
What is this? Obviously, we've been using this.
Yes.
It's
a coronavirus.
It gives me
in sprouts.
heebie-jeebies just seeing that thing. So to cut to the chase, Ed Worley knows it's COVID. Everybody knows it's COVID. 2020, on this day in 2020, UN says COVID-19 pandemic has created the biggest educational disruption in history, affecting nearly 1.6 million students in 190 countries, 94% worldwide, for which we are still and will many years in the future be paying.
I think that's true.
Oh, it's awful what we've done to kids. In 2021, on this date, does it seem to you, Julia, like a long time ago or like yesterday or?
Long time ago.
Does seem like a long time ago. It sounds like, it's kind of,
yeah.
I think I just put it out of my mind. I don't want to think about it.
No.
I have this question. I'm going to try to get Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin back on here again to talk about Cows Week. I texted him. Let's see if I got a text back from him. Big Pharma made billions. Worley is saying, absolutely. COVID bug, COVID. Well, the other one is this second one here, 2020 global known COVID-19 caseload on this date, only 2 years ago. It does seem like another century.
Yeah.
Global known COVID-19 caseload passes 200 million, with the death toll at 4.2 million, according to Johns Hopkins. And I don't know about you, Julia, but I think that lab in China is responsible. I think they have tried to cover it up, and I think
they did it on purpose.
I don't go that far. I don't think
I do.
I know you do.
I do. I think that's it's the least expensive war they had.
I don't believe they did it on purpose. I think they screwed up and the thing leaked because we were part and parcel. These people were sending money and they were doing gain of function research and talk about giving you the heebie-jeebies. But let's don't get into the politics. Climate extremism is another great subject to tonight. Saying, Ray, thank you for that. Just think, one day our world leaders will be people who were homeschooled by day drinkers during COVID. I'm glad we put some funniness on this. Thank God. So it was on this day that these two items, these two kind of notes in that horrible pandemic era, and Julia, you're going to get another booster now that there seems to be an uptick here.
No, I'm not.
You're done getting boosted.
Yeah, I had a bad reaction to the first booster.
You've had 3, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide. I think my natural immunity from when I got it last October, November has run out. They say 6-7 months, 8 months. So it's been that. I had an argument with the nurse partible last night, who thinks I should be going and getting another one. Doesn't want to talk about it because he thinks I'm too polite. But I'm not. I'm like you. I'm inclined not to do it.
No,
I'm inclined not to do it. Anything else?
No, we'll see. From what research I see, I think that we're gonna get something else.
Well, again, I got to talk to your own doctor. I got to talk to my doctor and doctors, and I'll talk to Joe Holtzman, who has a firm view. He's not my doctor, but I respect his opinion. And I'll talk to Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin. I'll talk to my doctors here in San Francisco. Just think, one day, that was a quote. That was a great comment. Graham Sweeney, I don't buy it. Most kids these days spend their time playing online platform games. They don't read books anyway. They follow TikTok and all the rubbish on there. Hello, Ken Saban checking in from Toledo, Ohio. He puts up great pictures on Facebook almost every morning of the sun rising over the eastern end of Lake Erie.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Panzarella, totally agree with what you are saying. And a Swiss study just came out from hospital workers tested 3 days after boosters. 1 in 35 had inflammation markers. Sarah is a new name I don't recognize. Welcome to the show, Sarah, and thank you for your comment. No harm for most people in getting extra COVID vaccines. I plan to do so, Stingray says, up in Seattle. Okay, well, we'll see what's going to be next and on that front. But in the meantime, we'll go to the 12-meter Worlds, as we promised you the other day.
Oh, yes. I don't know what happened with that.
It wraps up tomorrow, Saturday, the 5th of August, the 12-meter Worlds in Newport, Rhode Island. Several of you asked, I don't know if I explained this on the show the other day. They use 12MR. This is sort of a modern thing. I think it's confusing as hell. I would just use TWELVE, the 12s, the 6s, the 8s. Everybody knows what at least in the sailing world. Some people would prefer to use 12-METRE, the British spelling for meter.
Mm-hmm.
Fine with me. This is 12-meter rule, hence this 12MR. Dyer Jones is a big proponent of that, and others. So that's where that came from.
Why is that distinguishing?
I agree with you. I think it's another one of our inside baseball things that make it more confusing for everybody. 12 meters. Everybody knows the boats are not 12 meters long, and that's what they're trying to distinguish here. It's the 12-meter rule.
Right.
And the boats were, 65 to kind of 70
I know,
feet.
but by now everybody knows they're not 12 meters.
Well, especially in the sailing world. And
Yeah.
if they don't, let's teach the non-sailors, which
Right.
we always say on here. Let's teach them knots instead of kilometers per hour. And the other Sail GP bastardization, there I said it, of our sport. This is a photo essay from the website Gilding the Lily, J. Frederick Plant. Just nice photos from various friends and family. I showed a couple of these on Tuesday. And Team Andy Rose, they've not had a good week. They've been stuck more or less in 4th place in the modern division with only 5 boats in there. But they're having fun. It's close racing, as you can see from these photos. Yeah, helmsman, not driver, Ed Worley. Absolutely. And Challenge 12, XII, you can see there in the front, is going well. Freedom is going well. And we'll have a report on Tuesday after they wrap up tomorrow. But it's beautiful racing. It's not the most exciting racing because it looks like they're all pretty well locked in. And thanks to our friends Stephen and Michelle Almeida for those prior photos. Mista Photography, who sent those through. That's Defender. That's Andy Rose's team with a pretty snappy kite gathering there. Didn't get wet, they tell me. These photos continue from the website, and thanks to the dancing girls, as we call them, at the media company in Newport that are handling this again, Media Pro, for the ITMA, the International 12-Meter Association. That is, you know what the name of that boat is? Can you see it on the side?
American Eagle.
American Eagle. That used to be Ted Turner's boat that he raced in offshore racing at 12.
It was red.
It was red, but it didn't win the cup.
Nope.
Freedom did win the cup, 1980. Beautiful boat, doing very well, low freeboard, and is still quite competitive. There is a beautiful shot.
Mm.
And I wish I were there watching, sailing, what have you. And there's not only this modern division of these 5 boats, there's another division of classic yachts. Here's one more look from the back end of Defender, Andy and Co. I think that's our Fosey Jeffrey. A lot of Fosey on that boat, by the way. And I think up here, I think that's Jeffrey Peterson, who's the ostensible navigator on that boat. There's Andy. There's Father Greg Newman, who must be trimming port side. But they're struggling, as I said. And there was a lot of comment. This showed up on Facebook. I'm not sure who took this picture, but you can see the boom is way above center line. They got the Traveler way to windward, and there's been a lot of snarky comments about this. But apparently, the leech, the trailing edge of the mainsail, the main needs to be recut. I don't know how old it is, but they have found that by pulling the Traveler that far to windward, which you wouldn't normally do, especially in light air, but the boat's got maybe a bit of a lee helm. They've got the Traveler well to windward. It's trying to get the upper leech properly shaped. And I talked to Jeffrey by text this morning saying, hey, who's trimming main, which isn't important because it's a combination. Everybody's working on the sails. Why don't you bring the Traveler back down to the center line and just trim the main harder?
Yeah.
But you can see there's not much left to trim. So those of you making snarky comments about them, maybe you're right, maybe not. I don't know. There is a fabulous final shot. Stephen Cloutier took these shots. He's a famously good Newport photographer. At the 12-meter Worlds wrapping up tomorrow. That's Ottawa. And it doesn't get any better than that. Fabulous. That's like US 4, one of the oldest extant.
Fat.
12. Well, they're all pretty fat like that. The squeezed transom is what makes it look fatter than most of the others. But fabulous photo of one of the original wooden 12s. And remember, the 12s raced in the Cup from 58 until 87 in Perth. 83, we lost the Cup. Then there was one more 12-meter edition in Frio, Fremantle, Perth, Western Australia. Great photo. Speaking of 12s and 83, we've got, we're renewing our FOSI Challenge. I need some music with this, and Ed Worley has contributed this segment and will contribute more. Our 1983 America's Cup trivia segment. Watch carefully and see which of you gets this first. You'll all see it at about the same time.
What was the question?
That's coming. I'm just going to go to some comments first, get everybody up to speed, get them back looking. There are a lot of people listening if they can look. J. Frederick Bland, broaden the beam and bluff in the bow. That Jody, that boat isn't fat, it identifies, says Slender. Some back and forth between Julie and Graham and the dance of the lead belly money gobblers. Yeah. That really would be fascinating to have 12-meter match races during the 12-meter Worlds. Yeah, but I think they're worried about collisions and so on. Look at this. Graham Sweeney's back on. I think the booster gave me fluid around the heart, causing my collapsed minor heart artery and the stent I now have to live with. Well, okay. Could be that. Who knows? But let's go back to this trivia challenge from Ed Worley, who asks, which 1983 syndicate secretly obtained the ruling from IYRU, now World Sailing, that wings on a 12-meter keel were legal? They secretly obtained the ruling and did not disclose it until late in the LV Cup, the Louis Vuitton Cup. Was it A, Australia, led by Alan Bond? Was it B, the French, led by Bruno Troublé? Was it C, Great Britain, led by Peter de Savary? Or was it D, the Italians from the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda and owned by the Aga Khan, led by Luca Montezemolo? Which team secretly got the ruling that the wings on a 12-meter keel were legal? Shared it, in fact, privately, secretly with Australia too, during the whole kerfuffle in Newport, but didn't disclose it until New York Yacht Club had dug a huge hole by, he doth protest too much. Okay, let's see what your answers are. My gosh, they're all over the map. Was it TAPR? So I don't know what that means, Stingray. French, Baton Rouge, Baton Kennan says. Peter Taylor says Australia. Gruber says C, which is, who was C? That was Peter de Savary. Graham Sweeney says B, that was Bruno Troublé. Ryman says Alan Bond, A. James Frederick Bland says France. Ken Saban says A, Alan Bond. Don Lunabos, Oz. Oz says Julie Aarons tapered. Stingray says Chris Exley B. France. Worley B. France. Well, one of you's gotten it right, and the rest of you are Crutonic. Julie, any idea? You want to take a guess?
No, I'm thinking about somebody who was talking about it before it was made legal. So
before it was made public.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here we go. I'm going to give you the answer. And thanks again to Ed Worley, who helped me put this together. In the history of the America's Cup, everyone knows about the wing keel of Australia 2 in the 1983, the AC-25 series. The little-known fact that another challenger had wings on her keel has been all but forgotten. And that boat is in the background there. Do you recognize the boat? That's Victory 83. That's the syndicate head, the late, great Peter DeSabry, who was a good friend of mine, especially after the Cup. And PDS, as he was known, built two boats, 81 and 83. And his designer, he was the Victory Syndicate chairman, and his designer, Ian Howlett, who many of you will know, I'm sure Andrew Pindar is on here, knows him, and McIrvin, if he's on, any number of others of you, probably Graham Sweeney and maybe even Gordon Smith. Howlett had sought the guidance of the then IYRU, now World Sailing, Keel Boat Technical Committee in July of 82, so a year before the Cup, concerning the use of wings on the keel of a 12. The interpretation was to be kept in confidence and not to be released until November 1983. That's the way the rules worked in those days. You could get a secret interpretation from IYRU, and no one would tell the other teams of what that interpretation was. Not that we got rid of that ultimately. So the IYRU agreed in that ruling that wings could be fitted to the keel of a 12 as long as they didn't exceed the maximum permitted static draft. Now, what does that mean? It means when the boat is level, not heeled over, but when the boat is level, the D max, the draft maximum draft, which I can't remember what it is in the rule now, was not exceeded. Not when the boat heeled over, because when you put wings on the keel, as with Australia 2, the draft then became deeper than what the rule said. Number two, that the angle of incidence was not adjustable. That is, you didn't have floppy wings. You couldn't adjust them. And that they were not able to be retracted because the rule was quite clear. You couldn't have movable appendages except for the rudder. You could only have one rudder, and you could have one trim tab on the trailing edge of the keel, two movable appendages. Or you could have two rudders, bow and stern, as a couple boats did over the years.
Yeah, I was.
But only two movable appendages. Peter DeSabry released the IYRU decision on the legality of wings on the keel of a 12 on the New York Yacht Club and the other challenges during the height of the controversy of the legality of Australia 2's keel, PDS. And there are very hard to find pictures that Ed sent along. And they actually tried them on Victory 83 and went out and raced, and they literally just stuck them on. And they were slow because you had to have a whole lot of things. You had to have a narrow base of the keel and a wide tip of the keel, and you had to do some other things to the hull. But they were secretly used against Advance. That was the boat Ian Murray was sailing, one of the three Aussie boats, in one race of the round robins. Victory 83 speed dropped by a half a knot on all points of sailing, and Advance scored her only second win of the summer when they tried those wings. The problem appeared to be that the wings there were a whole lot of problems, not just the angle of incidence. So they were removed. The gain from them in experiments, however, was too great for the syndicate to abandon their use altogether, and it was decided to fit the wings again for the last race of the semifinal against Australia 2. Brits got into the semis against the Aussies. In fact, it was the final of the LBC. And they got beaten badly. I mean, it was a Hail Mary attempt to try to win the LBC and get into the match. So the answer, as you now can clearly tell, was C, GBR, Peter DeSabry, which I think only one of you got. Ding, ding, ding. Who was it that got B? Graham Sweeney. Anybody else got B? Graham was, I saw one other up there. Was it Gruber? Somebody else had it right. Way up there. Whoever, I think it was Gruber. Regardless, it was PDS. Speaking of whom, as I said, he became a good friend after the Cup. Went to one or two of his castles in his helicopter. We hung out and carried on. He died a couple of years ago, just a year and a half ago. The late great Peter de Savary, 1944 to 2022. He was larger than life. He was a lot of fun. He went broke once or twice, and then built it back, built his fortune back, and was always fun. Died of a heart attack at age 70-something, 6, a year and a half ago. That, the Fosey Challenge, 1983 America's Cup Trivia, brought to you by Ed Worley. Thanks, Ed, for doing that. Was that fun, Julia? Huh? Should we do that again?
Why not?
Ed's promised to do some more of that as we get to and through this next month or two, as right now we'd be in the LBC and the Defender August trials in Newport leading up to the match, which started in early August and ended on the 25th of September when the 132-year hegemony winning streak of New York Yacht Club was ended by Australia, too. Speaking of the Cup, we have a Cup date for you. There's been plenty of wind and rough sea conditions in Barcelona. No surprise.
Yeah, there's been incredible photos of that.
Incredible photos. The headline grabber, this from a couple days ago, will be a dramatic capsize caught to perfection by America's Cup photographer of note Paul Todd, who captured Magic, American Magic's boat Magic, with Paul Goody and Harry Melgus IV on the wheels getting high on a barroway and the rudder cruelly ventilating on a rogue swell. Yeah, rogue swells on the conditions out there that tipped the team headfirst into a pitch pole and the resultant capsize. It was right at the end of the session with batteries running low and thankfully minimal damage done, but it just shows that if you push the AC-40 too high, it bites, and it bites hard. This is from the AC website. Lessons learned all around. It also proves what many are saying, that these boats are crotonic, especially in these conditions.
And it was waters.
In these, why exactly, Julia, in the why. Here's a report.
Good morning. Today is July 25th. I'm coming to you from the basin inside New York Yacht Club American Magic Space here in Barcelona, Spain. It's been a really good month of sailing, and really as a team has gotten into the operation of the day in and day out on the water as we prepare for America's Cup 37. The month started with a couple really good events. We had the American Chamber of Commerce for Spain come and celebrate July 4th with the team over at Anita's, which will become our home as we go further into this cycle. We then had a great Helly Hansen rollout over at the Club Nautico here in Barcelona. It was great to have the support of Helly Hansen. It was great to have really that continuity from AC-36 into AC-37. We're really fortunate to have them as partners. But most importantly, we got out on the water and we've been 2 boats sailing now for the better part of the month. It's been interesting to see the evolution of our foil wings and the development that takes place there. It's been great having the other competitors out on the water here with us. As always, as you do with these America's Cups and with the development side of it, we've experienced the challenges inside of America, our first AC-40 that, really, I would say in some ways was a bit of a disappointment because the boat had been so reliable for us. But it's an electrical piece of equipment. It operates in saltwater, and so without question, it has its gremlins. And the team really, over the course of about a 6-day window, had to hunker down and day in and day out sort out what the issue was on the water in the shed to allow for the 2-boat development to take place, which was challenging to say the least, but good to see everybody come out of it a bit stronger. You can't give high enough marks to really the entire team here on the ground, from Serge and Fiona's kitchen to Dusty and the shoreside operation to getting the boats out on the water day in and day out. And then the sailors going out and doing their thing on the water. Having the lens now from a chase boat, it is truly impressive to watch the sailors operate these boats at pace, going through race laps and starting and all the things that we have to get better at over the next 14 months to get us to where we want to go. But we're just starting to scratch the surface of that development now. You can feel the pressure of time for sure, because we know 12 months from now we'll be within 4 weeks of the start of the Challenger Selection Series. So we got a lot of work in front of us, but there's a lot of room for optimism because you can see day in and day out we're getting better.
I like that style of reporting. I wish all the teams would do that. Okay, there's some PR, puff in it, but
He
there
does a
needs
good
to
job.
be. And Terry does a great job, right?
Mm.
I like it. I wish all the teams would issue reports like that, give us an update from their own perspective, not from the perspective of AC 37, the spy reports and all that reportage, which is, okay, some people like it because it's hyper technical, and I get that, but I don't know how you all feel. And the big issue, when you're going to see it again here, is that, as you all know, the wind's out of the south or even southwest, sometimes the southeast. And the seaway coming from the eastern Med, especially if they have a Mistral somewhere in the east, which they've had here.
Yeah.
Then you got big seas coming from the east, then reflecting off the Barcelona breakwater, as we've been saying. And I was there again, bouncing around in 91, 2, 3, and 4 for the Olympics, the lead up regattas and the Olympics themselves. And I've never been, bumped around as much anywhere in the world, I don't think, at least in kind of just regular, not at high speed. You're just out there in a washing machine. So it's going to be rough. It's going to be tough, and we'll see how this all goes. I'm not 100% sure it's going to work well.
It really reminds us you cannot fly the boat if you cannot keep the foils and rudder in the water.
Exactly. Good point, Julia. Thank you. Hutch is a good talker like Emmett. Ted Ryman is saying, yes, it was good, Terry. It was good. I wish more teams would do exactly this. Gordon Smith, the winners will be those who adapt to the conditions best, as always. Good point. Good point. People thanking Ed Worley, too. Now, Julia, see this comment from Graham Sweeney way up at the top?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that Fosey in Shetland means spongy or porous? I thought that's what crouton meant. Graham Sweeney. Okay, nice from American Magic. Now, this one is from Alinghi. Have a look at this. And one of the more technical spy reports.
With Nico Charbonnier, helmsman on board Alinghi Red Bull Racing. The fantastic conditions today, a lot of action, some spin outs, a capsize from the red boat. What's it like sailing these boats in 20 knots? Look like good fun.
This is what we are waking up every morning, and like it couldn't be any better. We had a flat sea state, 20 knots of breeze, and the boats are just insanely fast, and yeah, it's great.
You had a few issues today. It looked like a bit more trouble with the port foil at the beginning of the session, but that was resolved quickly. And the red boat was slowly towed back to base at the end. What was going on?
No, I don't think we had any issue on the port foil. It was just we didn't do good maneuvers, but was good otherwise. The foil worked really well. And I don't exactly know, but the second boat had a capsize, and then so I think something wasn't working anymore, but due to the capsize, and we just came in because it was more efficient for the team to be together working on the two boats and going into meetings now.
So the red boat was left behind the last 2 days, and it's back out today. What problems did you have with that boat earlier this week?
The other boat. We had a small issue with the system. We couldn't make all the system work. But as you said,
I really can't take any more of this. They ask these questions. They're not going to answer, and you're not really learning anything. They use the video, and they're trying to get him to say what was happening in that video. But as Ed Worley says, no computers, no batteries, no sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so far removed from all the sailing we see on every other front, and I'm just wondering, you tell me, Defoe, if this is correct or croutonic. I'm trying to keep an open mind. I really, Julia, am trying to keep an open mind and hope that this comes good, that it's compelling, that it's fun, that it's relatable, that we can relate to it.
Yeah.
But I have my doubts.
Yeah, it's hard.
What do you think?
Yeah. No, I've been there since the beginning, I'm sorry to say.
You've been there thinking this is croutonic.
Yeah. So, well, that's not sailing.
Well, and again, I'd much rather have Ernesto or one of his top guys like Terry did give a report and say, and by the way, one of the things that Terry said in his report, which I thought was interesting, is that he said something to the effect, it's really cool to watch from the chase boat now. It's a different perspective. I'm not sure he said it was really cool, but he said quite a different perspective to watch it from the chase boat rather than being on the yacht.
Yeah.
And did you remember who he said was helming? Goody.
Oh yeah. Good.
And Harry Melgus the fourth.
Yeah.
Buddy's grandson.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is.
Okay, so there again, they're repeating this video of the problems they had getting the port foil up and down. Bloody hell. No one's at these, and somebody said that Margarita Bottini, I had it in the show on Tuesday, said, yeah, these boats are not going to be around 40 years from now like the 12s are. Ted Ryman says teething problems will all work out in the end. Foiling is here to stay. Okay, Ted, I hope it all works out. I really hope this is a compelling, great series. Stingray says the worst part of it to me is the cyclors. It looks to most punters in a bar like they are propelling the boat. Good point, Stingray. Very good point. Okay, enough of this. Now, the Brits put out a really cool video, like I thought it was cool anyway. See what you think. The British team's extraordinarily technical prototype test platform T6 launched into some extreme swells. This video is just from, I think, yesterday or today, and this article on their website. Swells in Barcelona today, I think it's today, meaning yesterday, where the sheer skill of the sailors was thoroughly tested as they rocketed around the racecourse area trying to make sense of the, at times, 2-meter swells, 7 feet, roundabout. The last time T6 was in action was back on the 15th of June in Palma, where they had their training base, heretofore. But the team trained on their one-design AC-40 last week and are getting fully acclimatized to life in Barcelona at their new, and by all accounts, impressive base in the heart of Port Vell. Today's session was billed as a commissioning sail, but proved to be far more, with T6 absolutely on rails, with a wind speed that built and faded through the day between 8 to 15 knots, never really matching the lumpy, confused, easterly running sea state from that aforementioned storm.
How awful.
How awful. So here is that report from Boat Operations Manager Jeff Cowsey. Cowsey discusses how the protocol has changed for AC-37 and the second generation AC-75. I think this is a very good explanation.
It's certainly a bold protocol from just the standpoint of continuing to advance this type of sailing and these type of yachts. Foiling monohulls. I mean, I remember the first time I saw a sketch of the concept and barely believing that it would be possible. So definitely continuing to push the limits of what we can do in sailboat racing. In this cup, there are sort of 3 key classes of sailboats that are similar but distinct. And so everyone's going to have an AC-40 class boat. That'll be a one-design boat that we'll do a bit of racing in as soon as this year, a couple months from now. And that boat will become the Youth and Women's America's Cup class boat when the teams next year start to launch their big boats. So that's the second, which is the primary race boat. All of the racing that really matters will happen in that class of boat. So in the Generation 2 AC-75s, which will all be in the water sometime next spring or early summer. The third class of boat, I think every team at this point will have done some training in one form or another, is what's called the LEQ-12. So that's a test platform that's essentially a scaled design of the ultimate AC-75, where for a lot cheaper, really, teams can have a chance to test concepts on the water without having to build a full-scale AC-75 or build a second AC-75, which you're not allowed to do this time. You're only allowed to build one AC-75 this campaign. My favorite boat, it's got to be the AC-75 for sure, no contest. I mean, everything we're doing on the smaller boats is toward that end. It's all about ultimately building the fastest AC-75 we can build. So I hope I love it as much as I want to.
I thought that was a good explanation. Did you agree?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see what the results are of the 29er Worlds, if anybody can pull that up. I haven't been able to do it here. I tried to do it during that commercial, or during that video rather. But let's see if there's any other comments here. I mean, this is the problem, is that you've got the confusion that the people, non-sailors, think the cyclors are turning some kind of a propeller that's making the boat go or go faster. And of course, the truth is you now have the wind driving the sails. You've got batteries which power the up and down and the angle of attack of the foils. You've got cyclers who are powering the sail trimming in and out. I just think it's way too far away from sailing. Yeah, I agree with you, Ted Ryman. Foiling's here to stay, but you can do it with human power across the board and not have strange boats that are, as Clark Chapin says, they're not going to be sailed 4 years from now, let alone 40.
I mean, it might be perfect for smaller boats when really, the 25 to 35 foot can go 50 knots.
Yeah.
And there could be one or two people on it.
Well, and so can the cat. I mean, exactly. There are a lot of boats that'll go fast.
Yeah.
Kites.
Yeah.
Foiling kites go fast. The GP, the F-50s sail GP-50s. What other comments here? Clark Chapin, the sheer strength of the crew sphincters, I would say. Okay, so we'll see how the Brit team is going to do. It's too early to tell. I just still think that don't count out Alinghi. You heard it here first. Guess who's up next? Our dear friend, president of the Australian Sailing Federation, Australian Sailing, Alistair Murray, with another awesome Aussie anecdote from Melbourne and from the Sandringham Yacht Club.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fosey. This is Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote for the week, AAAA, and I'm checking in from Sandringham Yacht Club. You might remember I had a brief tour of the yacht club for you a few weeks ago. I went into the off the beach area. I'm going to show you the keelboat area now and a bit more of the club and have a bit of a chat as we walk around and just see what you think. So here we go. As I said, there's a poster promoting the upcoming Worlds. They're going to be in January 2024 and I will be competing. So sailing with my daughter and something I'm looking forward to very much. So walking into the club through the main gates, you see the chandleries on the right hand side and yacht brokers. Plenty of Ronstown product in the chandlery there. And we have a big nice welcome sign, which I think should be at the front of every yacht club. Recognition of the sponsors of the club up there. Off in the distance, you'll see the magnificent clubhouse. It really is magnificent. The Sandringham Yacht Club is one of the three largest, one of the three premier yacht clubs in Australia. The other two being the CYCA in Sydney, and the other one being the Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron. As you can see, it's a very active boat yard with some pretty nice looking boats, pretty hot looking boats. That looks like a Cape 31 there. No, it's a Melgis. It's a Melgis, so how's that? So some pretty nice boats. This is the Lou Abraham's off the beach sailing centre where I sail my Taser, and you'll remember that I showed you that last time. We're just coming up to the rigging area with all of the lasers and 49ers and 29ers and Tasers, and great fleet there. Then we walk across once again, looking back over at the clubhouse. You can see what a magnificent clubhouse it is. We're going through the One Design keelboat area here and heading over to the marina, which is where I'm sailing today. So what's today for me? It's a Wednesday, which is Wednesday Wonders. It's a real highlight of my week. I have a keelboat here, which I will actually show you, and we race every Wednesday in what we call the Wednesday Wonders. It's an afternoon start, 1:30, and we get seriously 40 to 50 keelboats on the water every single week. So it's really quite something. Here's some SB20s. We've got heaps of J24s, S80s, some Etchells, big fleet of Js, probably about 25, 30 J24s. And then we walk over to our King Centre, which is the amenities for the entrance to the marina. It's an absolutely magnificent day. I can't wait to get out there. I'm going to have a spot of lunch here with my crew who are assembling for the day. I just actually come up to my crew, filming for Sailing Illustrated. Just say hello, Sailing Illustrated in America. Taking them on a bit of a tour, and I'm going to go and show them our boat. Looking forward to sailing. Okay, here we go. We're going onto the marina. Beautiful day. It's a bit light. It's a northerly, but the forecast is 20 to 25 knots, believe it or not. It's a big marina. I'm going to make it an easy walk for you because my boat's in the very best spot at the bottom of the ramp, the very closest spot, which is either the best or the worst spot to have a boat. The best because it's accessible, the worst because everybody stops and talks to you. Anyway, going down the marina, there's probably 300 boats in this marina. It's quite significant. There's my mate Joe, walking past Joe. Hi Joe.
Hello,
say hello, Sailing Illustrated.
Hello, Sailing Illustrated.
Good on you, mate. And this is my boat. So it's a beautiful little cruiser racer called Arc de Triomphe, and it's a Archambault 31, hence the name Arc de Triomphe. It's a pretty hot little boat, something I enjoy, and looking forward to going for a great sail today. So, back to me. I hope you've enjoyed the tour. As you can see, it's a great yacht club. Sailing's a very big part of my life, and I'm looking forward to getting out there today. Cheers, everyone, and I've been enjoying the last few shows on Sailing Australia. Great coverage of the Governor's Cup, and life's good down under. Check in soon. Bye.
Yeah, good point from Ryman. It's nice day. It's the middle of their winter. And the boat's for sale. You saw it, Julia.
I
The
did.
sign. I didn't notice it, but yeah, fabulous. Gordon Smith says, "Cool boat. Cheers." And maybe we should all buy it and then have a boat down there.
Yeah.
And there was something, Julia. I was saying to you while we were watching that video. There was something I saw on the news this morning having nothing to do with sailing.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the mainstream business news here about Sandringham and Victoria, in the state of Victoria, Melbourne. And I don't remember now what it was. Maybe one of the Fozy will remember. But I have one other brief video, and this is friends and family in the middle of the winter at a cool yacht club. What could be better?
Yeah.
Have a look at this.
G'day, Tom. Just checking back in again quickly. I just gave you a bit of the tour of the club, but I found a couple of people I'd like to introduce you to. We've got Kate here, who was the first female Commodore of Sandringham Yacht Club.
Sure was.
And
Hello,
that
Tom.
was a star. It was Tom Eamon. And this is Paul, who runs our Wednesday racing, which I was just telling them all about.
Oh,
There you
great,
go.
great
Yeah,
job.
well,
You do a great job.
First thing I do every week is turn on the weather.
And then watch it obsessively for the rest of the day.
The weather's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to racing against both of you today.
Absolutely.
Yes, well,
And hopefully beating you. What do you think?
well, the conditions suit you, so
I'm an old lady, let me
as I
win.
usually say on days like this when I go past you, no excuses today, Alistair.
Anyway, these are two, we talk often, Tom, about the Volunteers for Sailing. These are two people down under that do a hell of a lot for the sport, and I really enjoy connecting with them every week. Checking out. Say goodbye,
Checking
Kate
out.
and
Bye,
Paul.
Tom.
See you, Tom.
Talk soon. And I'll tell them about the show and they can watch themselves. Bye.
And that, of course, is our Australian correspondent. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. Great stuff. Don't you think, Julie?
Oh, absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely.
And volunteers. He covers all the topics. He watches the show and
Right.
he covers it. What a great president he must be of that federation. Another great yachting nation.
Yes, absolutely.
What idyllic sailing scenery, Stingray is saying. Exactly. Cool boat. Fabulous. Thank you, Alistair. And let's, I have the results of the 29er
Oh, good.
on my phone here, I think. And if I'm reading this right, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, the Irish team, it's in the mixed team. They have mixed teams, they have male teams, and they've not only won the mixed division, but they finished first overall. Clementine von Steenberg and Nathan von Steenberg from Ireland won. They won the gold, I
Wow.
believe. And runner-up was the Argentinian team, Maximo Videla and Juan Cruz Albamonte. And the Italian team third, Alex de Murtas and Giovanni Santi, I believe, if I have that right.
That was a grand victory there after all those boats.
Well, exactly. And plus a mixed team. I mean, it's great stuff for our sport, right? French 4th, Australians 5th, Germans 6th, Australians 7th, Great Britain, Hungary, Poland. Terrific event. 205 teams. And a mixed team apparently has won. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's how I read the results here in the F division, which is the final division. Speaking of F, we have a fabulous Fosey Focus. And we have music for that, too. We got to get music for Whirly's segment. Ed, send me some music if you got something particular that I don't get a copyright strike on. Let's move on here because we have a nice segment from the Stanford Yacht Club. And it's another photo essay, and I just love this stuff. Gives you a feel for what's going on here in August in Long Island Sound, where it's generally pretty light. Stanford, not to be confused with Julia's University.
No.
Stanford. This is Stanford, Connecticut, an hour or so up the shore from New York City. And one of the hotbeds of yachting in the world, and one of our best new contributors to the show is the Fuzzy Fosey.
Tom and Julia, and all the Fosey out there. This is Rick Bannerow, the Fuzzy Fosey. I've been in a dark room editing, well, actually not a dark room, more like a darkened room, editing pictures for like the last 6 days. I figured I better get out and get some vitamin D. It is the Tuesday Breakwater Irregulars. We have 25 boats out for the start. We're about 5 minutes from the start of the first race. We're going to have 2 classes racing 2 courses. It's just a gorgeous night out here. As you can see, we've got clouds, just puffy, perfect, painterly clouds. This is the stuff that gets us photographers really excited. There's also a moonrise. Oh wait, that's my forehead. Actually, moonrise doesn't happen until about 8:25. By then I'll have lost most of my light. I was kind of hoping for the full moonrise, but no. Anyway, more to fill in.
A moonrise, better it's his head and not something else. I thought with the moonrise, I thought it might be something else, Rick. But look, we got more from him. We got some photos. This is what our sport is all about. Week in and week out, all over the world. This is what, 9% of the people do, sailing boats with spinnakers, small boats, with friends and family, mixed crews on Tuesday night, on Wednesday night, on the weekends, although it seems to be more midweek lately.
Mm-hmm.
And what a beautiful shot this is. And then he came back with another video reminding us of something very cool that Stanford Yacht Club is doing shortly.
I wouldn't want to forget the Stanford Yacht Club's Big Boat program for the junior sailors. Next week is the Dorade Cup that Stanford Yacht Club's been hosting for 25 or 30 years at least. Junior big boat sailing, J105s, J109s, you name it. Very dramatic to see these kids come into their own on these big boats.
Thanks for that, Rick. And something, Julie, we keep talking about all the time. Get kids into big boats.
Absolutely.
And the more of that we do, have them sail small boats, have them sail together, have them have fun in opties. Look at this. This is another Bannerow shot. And no wind in Long Island Sound, not unusual for this time of year, but the kids are still having a blast, and they want to go to the club. And I saw that at Balboa Yacht Club last week, and I love that poster idea that many of you also put comments in where they put the posters up of all the competing teams, and the junior sailors walked by and looked up at the posters. Great stuff.
Yeah.
We have a fabulous sport and a bunch of smart people, a bunch of nice volunteers, people like Banner who go out and take pictures and videos for our beloved sport, and we are entirely grateful.
Absolutely.
Nice report about the club. Look forward to more. Worley is saying, iceberg dead ahead. It wasn't the moon. It was an iceberg. He was mooning us. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Rick Banner. Much appreciated. Which getting us to now the last leg. And just a quickie here. I was going to run a video because they've announced that there will be next year, there will be another one of the, remember the Ocean Race did their European circuit?
Yeah.
They sail around, then they sail in the Meadow. They put out a big video announcement, but I had trouble getting excited about that. So I pulled that video out. We're almost 2 hours into the show, and I knew it was going to be a bit of a longie. But on the last leg, I do want to commend to you this regatta coming up down in Texas, run by one of our Fosey. Talk about volunteers who make our sport happen, make it work. The 2023 Centerboard Regatta at Austin Yacht Club. What is that? Lake Travis, isn't that what that's called? And you know who's chairing that? Lake Travis, our Fosey. Boomer, exactly right. J. Frederick Bland. And he says, I am co-chairman with the national. This is an email he sent out to not just to us, to a whole lot of people soliciting entries, advertising this regatta, the Centerboard Regatta at Austin Yacht Club in late September. I am the co-chairman with a nationally ranked sunfish sailor. Classes sailing are Sunfish, Lasers, Ilka, FJ Flying Junior, Optimus Dinghy, a new Melgus 15 fleet, and a Portsmouth handicap fleet, using Portsmouth numbers to rank to handicap smaller boats. The weather should be moderating, but expect warm days, 90 Fahrenheit, and pleasant, cool evenings, 70 Fahrenheit, 10-mile-per-hour winds, 10, I'm sure he means 10 knot winds, from the southeast. Thanks, Boomer Bland, J. Frederick, for that regatta promo. And if any of the rest of you have regatta promos in your neck of the world, it's not that we're going to probably help drive any attendance to your regatta, right? But what we do is it helps us understand our beloved sport, what's going on.
And how much is going on.
And how much is going on. And what is going on, what the thing is. By that time, the temperature may be below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, Clark is saying. But I do not believe it is possible with the incredible tech they're creating. Yeah, we'll see, Steve Gruber, how much of the tech does trickle down from those AC boats. We shall see. Nobody's going to argue about the difference between 10 miles. Yeah, okay, fair enough, Clark. Between 10 miles, it's just like a tenth of a knot or something at that speed. Maybe 2/10 of a knot, is it? That gets us the finish line, probably blessedly. Here is the Bill Wingrove photo from Davis Island Yacht Club, which we're going to change that up. But winners of the day, and I know some of you are going to fall off your chairs when I say this, but the winners of the day are World Sailing. And they're emerging, in my book anyway, Emerging Nations Program, the ENP. I just think this is wonderful. I think they're executing it well. And when you get guys like Emmett and his wife Lily involved at a terrific venue like in The Hague there, I won't try to pronounce the name again or I'll get a snarky comment from Andrew Pindar, probably rightfully so. Bravo Zulu, winners of the day, World Sailing and their Emerging Nations Program. John Emmett, good on you, and Lily and others for going over there and helping make that happen. Speaking of Rick Bannerow, this is one of his photos, the croutons of the day. What a fabulous photo. Croutons of the day. I put this on my Facebook page, I don't know, some days, 3 days ago. And people were critical of the lady who had her paddle up against the boom. And those of you who were on making snarky comments on my Facebook page in these cool boats, hood sails, and out on the Cape, I think, Rick's probably on here, he'll tell you where this was taken. You know what she's doing with that paddle, Julia?
No.
Okay.
I was going to say navigating.
No, but at least you're not making a snarky comment about what she's doing. This is proper technique in these kinds of boats, downwind in light air. Some boats you have a JC strap. It was named after a guy called John Christensen, which was a piece of bungee cord, shock cord, that helps hold the boom out downwind. She's holding the boom out with the paddle. And the paddle's even got a little, I don't know if you can see it, it's even got a little notch in it.
Yeah.
I think that's intentional, a little notch there in the paddle, so that she can better hold the boom out downhill in light air, keep it from falling back into the middle of the boat, help you heel the boat to windward. And there were people who were critical of this. This is great technique. These boats do not have boom fangs, Ed Worley is saying. Yes, indeed. So they're probably not legal to have JC straps. Those cat booms will kill if you accidentally jibe Peter Taylor. They are Barnegat Bay Callahan Cup Bayhead Yacht Club hosting. Okay, so that's not in the Cape. That's not out at Cape Cod. That's actually in Barnegat Bay in New Jersey. And the Callahan Cup, another terrific photo by Rick Bannerow. And any of you who are critical of this lady, you're a crouton and our croutons of the day. Thanks, Rick, our fuzzy for for that fabulous photo. How's that for alliteration, Julia?
It's a little stretch, but it's fine.
Fuzzy Fody Fowler, the name. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is next. And apropos 1983, I've gathered up, without the help of any of you, some cartoons I thought you would enjoy. Get us in the mood for what's coming up and what Ed Worley's going to help us do in the next month and, well, a couple months. Here's the first cartoon. This actually is from the 25th of August. So we just in the middle of, well, not in the middle, toward the end of the trials, the keel flap. And you see the birds down the lower left of the New York Yacht Club in their straw hats measuring Australia 2's winged keel. And over on the right, you see the Aussies are measuring the cup.
Yeah.
And the bolts and the screws. This was a cartoon, I remember it well, in the Providence Journal. Before the cup even started, before the match even started, on the 25th of August, 1983. Prescient. This is a cartoon from the day after the cup, down under. This was on the 28th of September, from the Melbourne Herald. My husband won't be into work today. He got drunk yesterday morning at 07:20 was the rest of the quote.
Yeah.
After Australia won. And remember the PM said anybody who's sacked somebody
Yeah.
or not, after the big win is the crouton.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was an incredible day. And
You were cheering for the Aussies.
I was.
Why? You said before.
Why?
Yeah.
Because New York Yacht Club had taken all the club previously, but the last 5 times or so, it had been financed largely by and sailed largely by West Coast.
Well, kind of. Sort of. Dennis Conner and others from the West Coast. Tom Blackaller.
Yeah.
The West Coast. John Coley is from Texas.
Yes.
But there was still a lot of East Coast money.
Well, then more and more. Anyway.
Come on, just admit it. You wanted New York to lose it so that somebody else would win it, so that St. Francis could go win it and bring it back here to San Francisco Bay.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of other American clubs. You weren't the only one.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Anyway, these cartoons are great. I got a couple more for you. That was in the Melbourne Herald after the match, which ended on the 25th, which would have been the 26th down under. Here is one. And the caption on this one, this was in the London Standard. I don't know if the London Standard still exists, but on the 29th, so a day later. Now what? This obviously New York Yacht Club standing around in the model room. Now what? Appeal to the Supreme Court or take out a contract with the mafia?
Yes, well.
Yeah, see the guy with the phone in his hand?
Right.
Huh? Now what? Australia wins. London Standard, 29th of September. And then this is a famous cartoonist. I wonder if any of you, any of the folks who can identify this cartoonist. He was Australian, but he ended up in New York and doing cartoons for one of the or two of the New York papers. He was widely syndicated. He was known simply as Rigby. His full name was Paul Rigby. That's a Giles, Sweeney saying a Giles cartoon. No, it's a Rigby cartoon. Paul Rigby was his name. And the caption of this cartoon was J-boats, 12s, and now catfish. Sitting on the end of the dock at Newport Offshore, which is where most of the 12s were headquartered in the day. And that was a Paul Rigby cartoon. He was born in 24 and died in 06. I thought you all would enjoy those cartoons. Get us into the swing of things as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the 1983 Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, the one before. I'm going to go back, see if I can go back to that. That cartoon, Sweeney is saying it. Graham said, I missed his comment going through earlier. He says that one is a Giles cartoon. What was his first name? Graham. But Graham said one of the first photos, did you see that? He said one of the first photos he had published was of de Savry's victory, either 81 or 83. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Julia, you're a witness.
Yes. There are many opportunities to wow your friends, like, follow, and share. And following is a very good thing to do because those of you and me who don't always get the right
Come on, Julia, spit it out.
The right channel when you want it. YouTube is a wonderful way to do that.
Maybe New York Yacht Club should have tried to overturn the race result. I think that's political commentary from Stingray about Donald Trump. Correct. Gordon Smith says that is a Giles cartoon. Thank you, Julia, for getting that out. That comments are welcome, even in replay. And if you would, please, we'd really appreciate it. Those of you who aren't already, many of you are, become a patron on patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, because this is viewer-supported media, and we appreciate giving us $1 or $2 or $5.
Absolutely.
Or more a month so that we can stay on the air. Thank you to those who give us audio, video, and images, and a lot of you do. They don't even know sometimes that they have, but we grab them, and we always like to give them credit for the terrific stuff, especially in a show that goes for over 2 hours, as today's did. Julia, final thoughts?
No, it's just another sort of refreshing look at all the things sailing's doing.
Indeed. Fabulous sport that we have, and we thank all of you for joining us and making this possible. We hope to see you on Tuesday. In the meantime, have a great weekend. And, of course, sail fast, sail safe, and as always, as we do here,
have fun.
Have fun. Ciao for now.